let's talk about NBA players who straight up defy the odds and bounce back from some gnarly, career-threatening injuries. From ugly, broken bones to some super scary, life-threatening injuries, things are going to get quite gory. Let's dive right in.
To the middle, Vucevic to Levine on the drive, the move, the shot.
This first one was painful to watch. It was none other than Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's career-threatening injury happened during a game against the Detroit Pistons in February 2017. He landed awkwardly after going up for a dunk and tore the ACL in his left knee. At the time, LaVine was in the middle of a breakout season, averaging 18.9 points per game and shooting 38.7% from three-point range. After undergoing surgery to repair the torn ACL, LaVine began a grueling rehab process. He spent months working with trainers and physical therapists to rebuild the strength and stability in his knee. It was a long and difficult journey, but LaVine never lost sight of his goal: to come back stronger than ever and prove that he was still one of the best players in the league. Eventually, LaVine made his return to the court in January 2018, less than a year after his injury. He was understandably rusty at first, but it didn't take long for him to regain his form. In fact, he scored 14 points in just 19 minutes in his first game back. Since returning from the injury, LaVine has continued to impress. He's averaged over 20 points per game in each of the past 2 seasons and has established himself as one of the best scorers in the league. He's also worked on his defense and playmaking, becoming a more well-rounded player overall.
George looks to retaliate straight away and does. A nice sign for Paul George after going 5 for 19 yesterday.
Moving on, this next basketball player came back from an injury that'll make you cringe out of horror. It was Paul George's leg. Alright, so back in 2014, the Indiana Pacers had a rising star named Paul George. He was playing in a scrimmage with the U.S. national basketball team when disaster struck. James Harden was going in for a layup, and George tried to block it, but he ended up landing on the base of the basket stanchion and completely messed up his leg. We're talking compound tibia-fibula fracture, which sounds about as pleasant as a root canal. Most people thought George's career was over, but he wasn't ready to hang up his sneakers just yet. He busted his butt in rehab and managed to make a comeback just 6 games before the end of the 2014-15 season. And that wasn't even the end of the story. Oh no, George had something to prove. The following season, he came back with a vengeance and had the best year of his career up to that point. He was putting up 23.1 points per game and playing in every single game for the Pacers. That's what you call a comeback, baby.
That's opening quarter. Durant leans in, gets it to go, and a foul. Kevin Durant.
Up next, this athlete is definitely a name you've heard of, Kevin Durant. Okay, so we all remember that fateful day in the 2019 finals when Kevin Durant went down with a torn Achilles. It was a total bummer, especially since he was balling out for the Warriors. To make matters worse, Klay Thompson also got injured in that same series. It was like the basketball gods were conspiring against them. Anyway, the Warriors ended up losing to the Raptors, and it was a real gut punch for everyone involved. Some people were even saying that the dynasty was over, but KD wasn't ready to hang it up just yet. He sat out the entire next season to rehab and recover, and people were starting to wonder if he'd ever be the same player again. But when he finally made his triumphant return in the 2020-21 season, he shut down all the haters. He was putting up ridiculous numbers, averaging 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. He was leading the Brooklyn Nets to the playoffs like a boss.
Half-court set here. Durant dealing with a very good defender, Herb Jones. It doesn't matter. KD, bullseye.
Sure, they ended up losing to the Bucks in the second round, but let's not forget that the Bucks went on to win the whole dang thing. And last season, before his latest injury, KD was looking like an MVP candidate. That's right, he's back and better than ever. The league better watch out, because KD is coming for that title. Speaking of, Klay Thompson's injury was pretty scary too, but fortunately he bounced back too. We all know about KD's injury in the 2019 finals, but let's not forget about his partner in crime, Klay Thompson.
54-point game this season. Catch and shoot again for Klay. Got it again. Good on cue. Thompson with a couple of long balls, and it's 13.
The man suffered a torn ACL in that same series and had to sit out the rest of the games. And if that wasn't bad enough, he also missed the entire following season. Now, Klay was supposed to make his epic comeback in 2020, but fate had other plans. The poor guy ended up tearing his Achilles while practicing. It was like the basketball gods were out to get him too. But finally, after 2 long years of sitting on the sidelines and watching his boys struggle without him, Klay made his triumphant return. And let me tell you, it was like he never left. The man was sinking threes left and right and helping the Warriors dominate like they used to. In fact, they even won the NBA championship in the 2021-2022 season. If that's not impressive, then I don't know what is. Moving on, this next athlete dislocated both of his kneecaps and yet still managed to bounce back. I'm talking about Shaun Livingston. Back in 2007, when Shaun Livingston was just a young buck playing for the Clippers, he had a nasty fall during a game against the Charlotte Bobcats, which by the way are now called the Charlotte Hornets. Anyways, poor Shaun landed on his feet all wrong and messed up his knee real bad. Like both of his kneecaps got dislocated. Yikes! Everyone thought his career was over after that, but Shaun was like, nah, I'm not giving up that easily. He worked his butt off for 20 months straight to rehab that knee and make a comeback. Now, he might not have been as quick or flashy as before, but Shaun adapted his game and kept playing for 10 more seasons. And get this, he even won 3 NBA championships with the Warriors. Not too shabby for a guy who almost lost it all, huh? Shaun finally hung up his sneakers in 2019, but he proved that anything is possible if you put your mind to it. Now, this next athlete was this close to turning blind. Amar'e Stoudemire. This guy was a beast for the Phoenix Suns, dunking on fools left and right. But one day during the 2008-2009 season, he got poked in the eye and messed up his retina. That's some scary stuff, man. He could have gone blind if he didn't get it treated ASAP. Luckily, they caught it in time and Amar'e was able to get back on the court. But from then on, he had to rock these special glasses to protect his eyes. Did that slow him down? Nope. He still balled out and even made it to the All-Star team a few more times. Eventually, he left the Suns and joined the New York Knicks. And guess what? He was still killing it. Amar'e might have had a scare with his eye, but he didn't let that stop him from being one of the best big men in the game. Finally, let's wrap up this video with one last basketball player that made a miraculous comeback. Gordon Hayward. He was hyped to join the Boston Celtics and get that big contract, right? But in the very first game of the season, disaster struck. He messed up his leg bad, dislocated ankle, and fractured tibia. Ugh, it was a brutal injury, and everyone thought his season was done. But you know what they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Hayward worked his butt off and came back the following season ready to ball out. And ball out he did. Maybe he wasn't quite at the same level as before, but he was still a solid player for the Celtics. It's inspiring to see someone come back from such a devastating injury and still compete at a high level. Respect to Gordon Hayward for real. And that's all for NBA players that have survived career-threatening injuries.